Sorry.
Thank you, Andrew. So we'll move on now to the Q&A session. And remember, these people are to represent us in the 5th District. Remember, we have Max back there. I'm pushing them. That's a 700,000 person district, so it's a big job. And if there's a fire or if there's a flood or any kind of emergency, this is the person that we want sitting in Congress speaking up for us. So I'm going to venture out here. Who would like to ask a question?
Hi, my name is Natalie Murphy. I live here in Fairfield. I work in Spokane because buying a house down here was a lot more affordable. And I've been raising my family here for the last 8 years. So. But I've lived in Eastern Washington my whole life. I remember the Tom Foley days, which was before '94. So my question is that I've been passionate about the environment since I was a teenager, which is something that guides a lot of what I do in my life and my values. So if you could name one single issue, political issue, that you are very, very passionate about, most passionate about, and how you see that guiding you should you be elected to represent us.
Good question. We'll start. Andrew, we'll start here. We'll go this way this time.
I assume you mean any political issue, not just an environmental one?
Right, and
Okay.
what's the most important issue to you?
Like I said, I have great benefits. I got great health insurance, not to brag or anything. But you know what's ridiculous? We pay an average of $25,000 for family health care plans, and yet dental care is not included. You get your Delta dental plan, get you a meager amount of benefits. You got to get your crown, it's $1,200. But guess what? That $1,200 crown does not even count against the deductible that you have to pay. That's just an extra out-of-pocket expense. Eye care, separate policy. Dental care is health care. There have been numerous studies showing links between heart health, gut health, and dental health, and yet we've allowed that to be separated. That should be all included. For $25,000 a year in premium that we're paying, it should cover dental, it should cover eye care. It should cover whatever you need to have yourself in the best health you can be in. And that's something that really frustrates me for a long time now, especially when I hear people that are paying $700, $800 a month in premiums. And just for the right to go and spend $4,000 to meet your deductible. That's insane. And then your max out of pocket's like 10 grand, and yet only a third of your health care actually counts towards that. Thank you for the question. I might have turned it off. I'm just loud.
Hello, now I'm here. Okay. It doesn't matter what any of us says on this stage is our most important issue. Getting corporate money out of politics, shutting down K Street is the reason anyone is picking that issue. It's the reason that it's just costs money for someone to poison your children in your water. It's the reason we have health insurance and not health care. It's the reason our schools don't have enough money for books or to fix old systems or enough tables, and teachers don't get paid enough, but the military and the military industrial complex has everything they need. I wear this penny pin. It stands for nope, not one penny ever of corporate money. I don't take PAC money. So far, when there were just 6 of us, I was the only person that didn't take PAC money either. There's a couple of people that don't take corporate money. I believe in this so strongly. It's part of the reason I'm writing the book and I'm running only with dollars, pennies, nickels, anyone sends me directly from an American. It is the number one issue, and it's why we're broke.
I swear I'm choosing this issue, and I would have chose it independently of you saying the environment. So my background is in climate change and sustainability. Since graduating from Gonzaga, with a degree in sociology and sustainable business, I've worked at a small business in Spokane doing on-the-ground implementation of climate and sustainability programs. And so I've worked with tribes, small businesses, larger government organizations on how can we make your operation more sustainable, as well as potentially more resilient as well. So this is working with tribal communities on the ground, preparing for the effects of climate change that are already happening and that we know to get worse in the future. And so to me, that is my entry into political life. That is, I'm on the City of Spokane's Climate Resilience Board, and that has been a very fun and fascinating foray into local politics and getting an idea for how to shape your community through these policies. And I know the reason why 30 seconds already, I guess I am passionate. I know whether or not it's a kitchen table issue, I know that climate change is only going to make our existing issues worse. It's going to exacerbate our food crisis, our health crisis. It is going to make all of these issues worse, whether or not we choose to accept it. And so it requires that diligence, that passion working behind the scenes. And so that's why it's so important to me. Thank you.
All right. So I appreciate it. I actually agree with Andrew. I think healthcare has got to be the number one priority. We're talking life, limb, that kind of thing. People need to stay alive. We are in a position right now where we are currently paying for Medicare and Medicaid. There's no reason that we can't get access to that now. You are, right now, what we do largely in this country is from 0 to 18, and then 65 and older is heavily borne by taxpayers, Medicare and Medicaid, okay? We privatize 18 to 65. All of those profits from the time when you're the healthiest you're going to be in your life, 18 to 65, are going to corporations, okay? That is unacceptable. When we talk about costs associated with healthcare, there is a way to bring those costs down. We can allow for authorized Medicare and Medicaid to negotiate for prices. Right now that's limited and restricted pretty heavily. We can actually allow and authorize that bargaining that they have, that heavy collective bargaining ability that they would have with all of those funds to bring our costs down so that we at least have a safety net so you don't die if you lose your job. That is unacceptable. So for me, my number one priority is healthcare, because we need to keep people alive. But that said, there are so many problems that we have. I look forward to talking some more. Thank you.
Okay, I have to put on my geek hat here. Everybody here is correct, and every issue that everyone is going to talk about is incredibly important. But without the mechanisms of a democratic government, they mean nothing. We have no say in our own government if we do not have rule of law and a democratic process. I got asked a very interesting question about 2 weeks ago. Young couple at a friend of mine's dance studio, and he asked me if I could wave a magic wand and do one thing for our country, what would it be? Now, that's where it comes to rule of law. I was the United States Forces Iraq liaison officer to the political section of the embassy in Baghdad, Iraq. I have seen from the ground level of war in Afghanistan with 19th Special Forces Group up into the 30,000 foot level of government formation and the disaster that lack of rule of law brings. That is where we are going But the bad news is that we are not becoming a fascist government. We already are there. We are now going to have to apply rule of law. I thought that was my 15-second
Well, we
mark.
did the 30 earlier. You didn't see it.
Take it away.
So, thanks for the question, Natalie. And everything that's been mentioned up here is an absolute problem, especially with healthcare. I could talk that all day long, being a former hospital administrator. But the biggest problem I see is that Congress doesn't do its job. That's it. Every single one of these problems exist because of that. You know what Congress's job is? Is that support and defend that Constitution. The Constitution actually contains the mission statement for the federal government. Now, when they created the Constitution, they didn't talk about mission statements, but it's there, it's in the preamble. And you think about that. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union. Are they forming a more perfect union? No, they're tearing it apart. The next line is to establish justice. Feel like there's a lot of justice? Look at Minneapolis, look at Spokane, look at lots of places around the country. The next line is to ensure domestic tranquility. Does America feel very tranquil right now? Then it's provide for the common defense, not offense, defense. And then it's to promote the general welfare. How are we doing on that one? That's the healthcare, that's all these other things. And then it's secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. Congress is not doing its job, and it needs to. We need people with integrity to go in there and uphold the Constitution.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Another question? And this time, I think what we will do is start with Richard, and we will go around this way. Who has a question? Oh, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Teresa, and not only am I a citizen here in town, but I'm also, I run a smaller business. And between my personal life and my business life, I work with budgets, and I have seen our taxes for across the board and insurance go through the roof. I mean, if you look at our budget, I look at a whole section of both, and I think, how are you supposed to get ahead or make a difference when so much is just being taken in that respect? And, you know, what can be done for that? I mean, every year it's gotten worse, period.
Thank you for your question. I certainly appreciate that. There's a couple of problems that you just brought up. You've got your federal taxes and you've got your state taxes. Very candidly, Washington state taxes really, really heavily. So that part of it needs to be addressed at the Washington state level. 100% it does. As a matter of fact, my mom actually ran her small business for about 15 years, doing exactly what you're describing. And I got some very good conversations with her about how those taxes are paid out and how that goes. At the federal level, 100%. We need to cut taxes for smaller business and the working class. There's no doubt about that. That needs to happen. So in the big beautiful bill, when you heard about the tax cuts that Representative Baumgartner talks a lot about 85% of those taxes go to people that make between $500 and $1.5 million a year. Okay, the rest, most of the other stuff, and then above. So about 15% of that goes to people that are actually working class individuals, the people that what I expect are exactly in this room, okay? What we can do is actually cut taxes in a big way for our people here. That matters. And then actually charge taxes on those individuals that have the ability to afford it, that have availed themselves to our tax system, to our local economy and our broader economies to make those profits, to be able to afford to pay the taxes that they can afford to pay, but they're not really paying. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I certainly agree with Rich's first statements, and that there's the complexity of state versus federal taxes, and the small business that I work at, I'm also a co-owner of, and so it's been an interesting look to get a peek behind the scenes of what the accounting operation looks like for a small business, and I can definitely understand the pain and pinch felt by those state taxes, those B&O taxes that I'm hopeful. I know there's been some more movement recently at the state level to lower some of those for our small businesses here. But then absolutely at the federal level, we need to look at the currently regressive tax system that we have that places more of a tax burden on working class people, more of a tax burden on small businesses than corporations and corporate profits, and even it makes it easier to stay rich than for our smaller businesses, for our working class folks to even get by. And so we have a tax structure that is fundamentally broken, in my opinion. It was not set up for our modern economy, for our modern systems, and it requires an overhaul in order to see, again, like we saw like on Main Street today, there's having no small businesses, no storefronts can take the life out of the community. And so we need to bring this back. We need to do what it takes to make it easy to run small businesses. Thank you.
I completely agree that our tax system is broken. But tax cuts, although I do support them, is a coupon discount on a life you already can't afford. You have to be able to grow income, grow economy, and reduce overall expenses. One thing that we talk about when we talk about things like universal health care, of course, the direct cost of health care, but we don't talk about what it costs businesses, especially small businesses. If you raise the minimum wage, I propose one, a FICA honeymoon for micro businesses and a sliding scale upward, but also enabling people to be insured through the government is going to greatly reduce the tax burden on small businesses. In addition to that, things like babysitting. Life has changed. Most people are double income families with kids. We need to expand public education to pre-K. These kind of investments or structural changes that Mead Society will help with that.
Yeah, we get taxed a lot, but we receive no less in return. And they want to add more tax. As much money that we put out there, if you want to get your school fixed, you want a better education, put those levies on the bonds. Put bonds on there. Adds more money to pocket. Yet we're giving out hundreds of billions of dollars in corporate welfare every year. We're allowing them to run wild on us, taking our money. We need to allocate that better. The $200 billion in corporate welfare, there's cash money handed out to them. That could pay for 10 million plus people to get a college education, go to trade school, without any debt to worry about. But yet, we will hand it out to them to do as they please with it. And I don't see much in return. And now we get these data centers coming about, and we're supposed to fund new infrastructure for energy. We have plenty of energy. They need the energy. You buy your own energy plant. You develop your own facility. Don't put that on me. Don't raise my costs to benefit your business. You have these most powerful companies, and they do whatever they want because our Congress lets them. They don't regulate this. They encourage it. They give them the breaks. They give them the money. Right when the pandemic happened, they wanted to stay home from work, and then they were talking about, hey, we can't keep giving these checks out anymore because you're going to be too lazy to go back to work. But they had no problem handing out PPP checks, not just small businesses, but major businesses that didn't need it. But we can't have more. Thank you.
Sorry.
So taxes. Taxes are a real problem. We need to completely overhaul our system. The top tax rate during the Eisenhower administration during the 50s was 90%. That was the top bracket. Today it's 37%. It's been going down all this time. And what that has done, it has shifted the burden of government onto the working class and away from the rich people. And there's been a lot of other rules put in place too that benefit the wealthiest among us. You know, the wealthy do not earn money like we do. They don't get a W-2. They don't get a paycheck. They own things and they invest in things and they pay no tax on that until they sell it. And then they sell it at a capital gains rate, which is much less than that 37%. That's how they work it. And then they often don't sell it at all. They just borrow against it. They go to the bank and they say, look, I have all these millions of dollars worth of real estate and investments, so give me a loan for 4%, and I'll live off that, and I'll pay you back at 4% instead of paying the government 37%. That's how they do it. And that system is rigged. It's rigged against those of us who work for a living. It can just be changed, and that's what we need to do.
I have a small business as well, and I can tell you that when the last Trump administration came through and cut the taxes, my taxes went up as a small business. The largest competitors had tax deductions that were no longer available to small businesses. So to go into the details and every jot and tittle of all the things that are hitting you is going to be impossible, especially in, 90 seconds. But what we definitely want to talk about is that small businesses are a huge employer, and they are stifled by our system. It's not the healthcare system itself, it is the way that we've got it set up. You get a small business where you start getting to able to grow employees and hire more people. You hit a threshold where all of a sudden your costs don't double because of healthcare. They're 5 times, 10 times what you're paying. So in order for small businesses to actually grow, they have to get over this massive hurdle, which means they usually sell. Or they borrow. And now they're at risk of going out of business. This is a terrible economic model. Now, I want to make sure that we're clear. We do need a break for small businesses because they're carrying a burden that is not sustainable, and it stifles both our growth and our entrepreneurship, our creativity. Those start at the small business level.
Thank you. Is there another question?
Gary Kavanaugh, I'm a Spokane resident since 2nd grade, and I had a question about the War Powers Act. I know Congress is going to call upon looking at that constitutionally, and I just wonder if there's anything that we could do to help, besides talking to our representatives, anything in particular we could do to spur Congress to act on that War Powers Act.
Lorraine, you want to start there and we'll go around?
Testing. I want to make sure I understand your question. You want to know what U.S. citizens can do?
Yeah. Besides calling representatives.
Well, don't vote for the bastards that aren't, that aren't restricting. I mean, I can't count how many, I'm an independent, but I'm left-leaning. I'm a former Democrat. I'm fond of saying there aren't birds of, wings of the same bird, but they are branches of the same bank. So, that's why we get, watered down policies from the Democrats, but better than the policies from the Republicans. And I think what you can do as a citizen is pick your favorite here, volunteer for their campaign, call your friends, register people to vote. People feel so powerless, and they have so much on their plate right now. They're tired of the bickering, they're tired of the lies, they're tired of the wars, they're tired of crying at the gas pump and at the grocery store line, and we need to encourage them to fight for the American dream, to exercise, and they're even trying to mess with the vote now. Gerrymandering and restrictions, you have to activate people in your community. Remember the good old-fashioned phone tree? Now you can do it on Facebook and email. There's so many ways to communicate. Be an American.
Thank you.
Exercise those ways.
All right, this one still works. Agree with being an American and exercising our rights. I want to note that I agree with Bajan that we are currently in a fascist regime. We are experiencing an authoritarian government. And what's notable about that is no authoritarian government or fascist regime in history has been able to overcome 3.5% of its population protesting in a consistent form of protest, because that will of the people, even non-violent, that shows that they're on the wrong side of history. And so our most recent No Kings protest in late March, we got pretty close to that. I think we were right around a little below 3% in those protests. And so what I would urge anyone in this room to do, and just like Anne-Marie was saying, is continue to get the word out about the importance of this. That unfortunately, at this very moment, we have a Republican-controlled trifecta, and they are going to abuse those war powers until we show them that the people are not going to stand for it anymore. And so, there is strength in unity, and each and every one of us showing up to protest, and that would be what I would encourage all of us to do. Thank you.
All right, so I'm a JAG. All right, at least I used to be until May 1st, which is an attorney. To simply answer your question, you never go to war unless you have, they probably know this already, you need to have a plan with goals and an exit strategy. If you don't have that, you don't go to war, period, end of. Okay? So the war priors that you're talking about, there's no citizen standing to be able to try to stop that, okay? But they're spot on. The way that you challenge that is you change the regime. You change what is currently happening. What has to happen is Representative Baumgartner needs to go. Bottom line, he is going to do exactly what he is told, okay? If you've looked at what's going on in the news, Trump is actively attacking every single representative that does anything that he doesn't want them to do. Baumgartner has voted with Trump 99% of the time, okay? This needs to stop, okay? We need to have somebody that's representing us, actually our interests, that is willing to challenge the status quo, that is willing to say, this is not acceptable, we need to do better. And to actually vote on a war powers resolution and make them vote. Right now, they won't bring it to the floor. They won't even vote on it because they know what's going to be, right? They don't want to put themselves in the position to actually have to make a decision and stand by it. That's wrong. Every person that represents you that you choose to elect should have the spine to stand up and say, this is what I did and this is why I'm doing it. If they can't do that, because I haven't seen him do that at all, if they can't do that, then they're wrong and they need to go.
First, I want to address the War Powers Act. You hit the nail on the head with the problem. We've given too much power to the executive. Now, the idea of the War Powers Act, for those of us who have studied a little bit of history, and I'm sure the JAG knows about it, is that it was to curtail the president's ability to wage endless conflict in Vietnam and then to Cambodia. What we have now, though, is a Congress fails to exercise the limits that are in the War Powers Act. In other words, you have to cut the money off. Now, I'm very, very concerned about these ideas of just taking an axe to the federal government or saying, well, we can't feed hungry children because we have a military. Rest assured, there are very, very bad actors in this world, and a strong, powerful military is completely necessary. At the same time, our alliances are critical. It is NATO, it is ANZA, it is our ability to work with the EU, and to discriminate against who the enemies are, or if there's something to actually be done about it.
So, thank you for the question. And this goes back to your question, Natalie, when you asked what's the number one issue, and it's Congress failing to do its job. As everybody up here has said, that's what it boils down to, and that's what we have to resist. And that's why I'm in this race, right there, is to uphold that oath and that integrity. And to talk about what the future can be.
No, you're not at that point. You're fine.
Okay. And to talk about what the future can be when we take back the House in the fall. Because what we can do then is we can stop some of this chaos, we can slow down some of the things we can't stop, and we can get ready for 28. And we've got to have the momentum building. That's the plan. A lot of people want hope, but hope's not a plan. That's the plan. Take it in 26, keep the momentum going in 28, and then we can get big things done, because people are so sick of all the other things we're talking about up here. I've held listening sessions all across this region for the past many months, and I will tell you, people are ready for change, whether they're Democrat, independents, and there's a lot of unhappy Republicans out there. And by 28, we're going to be able to get big things done, like health care for all.
Thank you.
Gary,
Andrew?
I think what you meant to say is you can't call your representative because he won't return your call or your email because Bond Brown doesn't get back to anybody, even if you could. But along those lines, yeah, nothing you can personally do to stop this now other than speak up, stand up for yourself. But more importantly, select people that are going to stand up and protect you that actually care. They don't care about their party so much and getting along with them. They're going to say, no, that's wrong. I don't care if that's what you want to do. That's not what I believe. That's not what my people believe in. People will stand and say, you know, maybe that's not something that is one of my priorities, but the people in my district need that. Even though it might not fit my ideology, if that's what they want, then we're going to do that. We're putting Washington first, not the party first. We don't have that. We don't have people wanting to stand up to Donald Trump. I mean, look, you know, Joe Biden too. I have both sides with that. He wasn't a good candidate that second time. You know, everybody said, you know, wait, Joe Biden, very old, looks frail, sounds slow, but yet he decided to go anyways and not pull out to the very end. But his party didn't stand up to him and say, hey man, you know, you got to sit this one out, brother. We need to have a stronger candidate now while we still have time to get in this. We can't let Trump go and take over again after what happened last time. But they didn't stand up to him. They waited till he had a disastrous debate at the very end. Where was the top before that? I think it was, even though he didn't explicitly say he was going to be a one-term president, it sure was implied. And now here we are. People won't stand up to their party.
Thank you. This time, let's start with Dejan and go around that way.
Good evening. My name is Ellie, and I work for another neighboring town just 20 minutes away. And my question is, what's one promise you can realistically make to the voters in this district?
Did you hear that?
Yes. Look, that's a fantastic question. And this is where we have to be talking about planning and what are the things that we can do. None of us in here are going to go and clean up that town. None of us standing or sitting up here is going to go and make the difference, drain the swamp, or it's going to be, new sheriff in town. We're going to be one of 430. So the first thing that we need to be doing is prioritizing what's important here. If there is one thing that we need to do in this district, it's get a damn farm bill passed. We have a huge agricultural community here, and it's a large part of the income for this district. And a farm bill is already 2 years out of date. And if you don't update those, the economic impacts are that far obsolete. It's 7 years into the past. So I would say that the farm bill is, and there is an appetite for that across party lines, just not across this administration.
All right, so as far as promising, right, as Bajan says, 435 people, right? We're one of 435 individuals. That is significant. What we can say, a farm bill, yes, it would be good, and I agree with that. I think that is possible. That is possible. The problem is it depends upon what President Trump wants to do right now. That said, what we can do, what I can guarantee, is open and transparency. I can guarantee that we will communicate with you what's going on. We will tell you what's happening and what the paths are forward. I can also tell you that, for example, when the government shutdown happened in October, and people were looking to try to meet with Representative Baumgartner, he wasn't nowhere to be seen. You couldn't find him. I mean, I'm working with individuals that were putting up food pantries to try to help individuals that weren't getting paid, all right? I can guarantee you there will be conversations and there will be access to the resources that we have available to you. Representative Baumgartner should have been out there beating the street saying, okay, this is terrible, this sucks. This is what the resources are that are available to you. I literally did that. Okay, for the people that I could assist, all right? I work with communities, I've worked with communities in a lot of different ways over about 22 different years, okay? Different assignments in the military, and then volunteering in the community, working through scouting organizations, food pantries, food gatherings programs. I've worked in a lot of different ways to help a lot of different people. I know how to do that when you need it.
I can promise that I will put progress over perfection. There's a lot of folks that want to see the perfect iteration of their representative. And like we've mentioned, there's 435 of us in Congress, in the House of Representatives. They want to see moral perfection. They want to see the exact type of policy introduced that they agree with wholeheartedly. But this time is too important to get it wrong. So yes, I support a Medicare for All solution wholeheartedly. I believe that healthcare is a right. But I also know that we have immediate actions that we need to take to restore healthcare cuts that we can make that are politically feasible on day one. And so I will always fight for the North Stars of those policy positions. But the best thing that I will do is progress for the people of this district. And it's putting the actual people who live and work in District 5 first, before corporate donors, before lobbyists, and that progress is everything to me. So that's my promise to you.
My promise to you when I get to Congress representing this district is to be a pain in the ass. And when I say that with all sincerity, Part of the reason I became an independent was because of, my dedication to kind of eke out corporate money from policy. And there's gimmies that happens when they write these big deals. And nobody said anything because everybody is taking the money. There's like 2-3 people that don't take corporate money in all of Congress, 2 or 3. I believe we need an independent caucus with people that don't take money. That's probably in the future. But when this happens, I will alarm the people. I will make noise. No, why is this bill being watered down? I will tell you. I will make sure everybody knows, and I will shame the crap of the people that sell their own people out. You will never get that from me. I will stand for you, and I will make sure everybody knows the people that are not. Shame them. I'll be your pain in the ass.
Well, Ellie, my promise is availability, responsiveness. I'm the longest alive. They'll make a Disney movie if I win this, let's just be honest. I'm doing this because I love in my heart, because I care. I want to interact with you. I've never been to Fairfield before. I'm excited to be here and meet all of you. You'll be able to get a hold of me. I'll take your calls. I'll come back down here, not just hustling for money or for donations. Come down here because I want to hear what you have to say. You might yell at me. You might not like something. That's okay. I'll take it. I accept responsibility. I don't make excuses. I won't hide from you. I've never seen Mike Baumgartner before. These kind of people are like mythical representatives. We see them on TV, but we don't actually see them around. They're not accessible. It's like there's no regular people out there. Every one of them groomed. I think he's been a politician his whole life. I'm just a guy that worked in restaurants, got a degree eventually because I wanted to get some benefits. And then it's like, let's do something. Let's do something big. Let's make a difference. Shoot for the stars. Yeah, I'll come back and visit you guys. I won't just do the Win Red events and whatnot with Jim Jordan like he does. Come be around people. And I will definitely come to your flag day for the 116th, 17th, and 18th anniversary. Your mayor, Dave Bradford, told me that when I talked to him yesterday. He said, Flag Day is huge down there. He did know the right day. I'm not going to lie. I didn't know it was on the 16th, but he did. And I came in town. First thing I saw was that sign.
The 13th.
13th.
But it's the 100th.
Home of the world's largest Flag Day celebration. I missed that. You have all microphones. I really don't need
Since I started running for this position last December, I've held dozens of listening sessions all over this region. And I've talked to over 500 people on the telephone. And I've listened to what their priorities are, what your priorities are. And I promise you that your priorities fall largely into 4 big buckets. It's about an economy that works for everybody. It's about a rational national health policy, supporting agriculture, and protecting our rights and our safety. And then there's multiple things underneath each one of those headings right there. My promise to you is that I will make your priorities my mission in Congress. I will also always behave and act according to my core values. My parents raised me to always act with integrity. My faith calls me to serve all, and the Air Force told me to lead with excellence. Yeah, those are the Air Force core values, but they are mine. Integrity, service, and excellence. You can count on that from me.
Thank you. Do you have more questions?
Oh, yes, question. Thank you for having this event. My name is Mike Gavarecci. I am an Iranian American. I migrated to the United States more than 40 years ago, and I have lived in this community for the past 20 plus 23, 24 years. I have a few questions. If you know, may I ask 2 questions or just one? The first question is yes or no. The first question is yes or no. So, which 2 parts? Sorry. Thank you. So, first part is, in your mind, is America first or Israel first? Dr. David?
America.
Benjamin?
I don't think you're going to find anybody else with the answer.
We don't?
No, I don't think so.
I think everyone would agree that America's first.
America's first.
There's no more
Right?
Republicans here.
Well, it doesn't seem like, seems like, this administration putting Israel first, pretty much, with respect to what we are seeing with war with Iran. I have to add, I'm a refugee. I migrated, as an asylum seeker to the United States. I walked through the mountains. I left Iran opposing, Ayatollahs, and that's why, I'm rising up to ask, these tough questions, because part of the questions, these citizens, concerned citizens are asking, we go back to Iraq war and Afghanistan war. So these wars has costed American citizens trillions of dollars. We have to ask ourselves, who are we fighting for? Are we fighting for America's interests or our ally, Israel? So my question is, how do you think these wars has impacted every life in this room and beyond our district and across the United States? Thank you.
Go ahead, anyone that's ready, and we'll go from there.
So, well, first of all, I know it's a little late, but welcome to America. And I want to say that I lived in Tehran for one summer. So, wonderful people. They have that ethic of welcoming the stranger. I can't tell you in that one summer how many times I was invited to someone's home for dinner. But had a terrific experience there. But you talk about the wars and all around, and we have had enough of military adventurism. And I say this as a military. The JAG pointed out some of the elements of the Powell Doctrine actually there of when we go to war and when we don't. This administration has violated every single one of the criteria that I learned in War College that you should do before you go to war, including getting Congress and the people on your side. But it is time that we refocus our military on defense and not offense. That will make our military actually stronger when we're not spread out trying to police the entire globe, and it will make it much cheaper, and we can use those funds for some of these other issues and problems we have.
Mike, your question is too complicated to answer in this short thing. We've had conversations, we'll have more. But I do want to bring one thing up here I've touched on before. I agree with General Mattis. I have never been on a crowded battlefield. I have never been in a situation where I've got too many allies on my side. This includes United Nations, ICRC, NGOs. This includes USAID. You want the source of war? I'll give it to you in one word. It's poverty. USAID was a tool that we had for soft power is what we like to say, but in reality, it saves lives. It prevents wars. We cannot pretend that the globe doesn't exist. Isolationism is one of the most dangerous threats that we have. But military is a backup. It is not the go-to. And that it is also important that we have to remember that there are regimes out there, as we have discussed quite a lot, Iran is one of them, that is very complicated. But what we have done recently is galvanize the resolve of the Iranian people against us. Iranian citizens who hate their government, they just hate us more. And if you drop enough ordnance on them, they'll hate you for decades. So we need to remember why we are doing these things. We'll go into depth on this stuff. I always love hearing what you have to say.
So, endless wars are catastrophic. We spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and to say that we've gained much is probably a little bit of a stretch. We haven't gained much at all. For those individuals that understand how these things work, the biggest things I would really want to highlight for us as far as these are concerned, our allies are extraordinarily important, and we're blowing them up right now. We are seriously damaging all of our international relationships, our international affairs, all of the things that we need for our overall global stability. We are hurting them economically, we are hurting our allies militarily, we literally threatened to attack a NATO ally. That is insane, all right? These are situations in which we need to work with our strategic allies. We need to work to try to prevent poverty. That's exactly correct. Poverty is probably the #1 contributor to the problems that we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. If people had hope, when they have hope, they don't want to harm people. I mean, at the end of the day, when people run out of food, when they run out of water, when they run out of hope, they pick up a weapon. That's what happens. We need to get in front of that. Most of war is prevention. To keep from going to war, the purpose of the Department of Defense, and it is the Department of Defense, by the way, not the Department of War, that was never statutorily changed. The purpose of the Department of Defense is to make sure that we don't ever have to use it.
Unlike a few other folks up here, I've not served in the military. I have not even been in active duty in the Middle East. But my perspective is one of someone who consumes media nowadays, as well as a taxpayer. And what I see from the actions of Israel, as well as our support for that nation, does not strike me as much of an ally. Because not only did they drag us into war with Iran under a threat that they would strike first, I don't know why Marco Rubio would ever let that slip, but they also have committed genocide in Gaza by the definition that the UN Council sets, by Israel's own Human Rights Council. And so our taxpayer dollars went to bombs that were intentionally dropped on camps full of children, full of families that we knew were not threats. This is one of the nations that has the most modern weaponry of all time. We know where the threats are and where they aren't. And so our taxpayer dollars going to more of that and another 25 billion or more in the war in Iran is hard to see. And so to shortly answer your question, I think we need to re-examine our relationship with Israel as a whole.
There is a phrase you may have heard before in your life: war is business and business is good. It's a disgusting phrase, but the military-industrial complex and the money that goes to Congress people and the amount of support that we give to other countries, all of that support in tax dollars, we don't give them money. That money has to be spent with us. It's a complete cycle. And then sometimes we participate, we bomb, we destroy, we rebuild, or maybe we assist rebuilding, and then we have immigrants come to this country for decades, for generations. We build generations of hate. the whole mechanism is because somebody's getting rich, and the people who are, their lives are being destroyed. It's a point that was made by a couple of my worthy competitors here about poverty. It's talk versus bottom in action, in blood, and families destroyed. And meanwhile, we're struggling to put food on the table because of these actions.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate this great question. First off, I don't hold the Israeli people, the individuals accountable, because I don't like being judged for Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, Stephen Miller, and Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir. That's their version of it right now. So yeah, for right now, they ain't our friends as far as I'm concerned. In the future, maybe that can change. I like to think I'm a very empathetic person. And it's kind of something, long bothered me. I had Palestinian neighbors before, I had these conversations. They weren't treated well. I would react the same way if I'm being honest. I would stand for myself. I'd toss rocks at them most likely. But the person in this relationship that has the power was Israel. They needed to make the first concession to resolve this. Get rid of those settlements. Show that you mean business, that you're serious, that we can really work to build something here. But as long as you're encouraging that, funding that, and expanding that, why would Palestinian folks believe that you're serious? How could they trust you? So no, we need to stop that. And further than being allies, the amount of espionage that Mossad engages in our country, the manipulation, using our social medias, propaganda, trying to influence our citizens. Free speech doesn't mean that our adversaries, allies, get to go and manipulate our people. And we need to put an end to that somehow. We need to address this issue of social media being allowed to just spew hate at everybody. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Question? Any question? Okay. Who has not started first?
Kevin.
Kevin, you haven't started first.
Yeah,
Kevin.
it's
We'll
my turn.
start with Kevin and then go to the right.
Okay. My name is Isabel Murphy. I'm related to Natalie. I'm a student at SFCC right now, and I'm also a part of the Associated Student Government. I'm also an artist, and I take a lot of pride in living here in this community. I'm in watching the news, reading the news, all that sort of stuff. I keep seeing a lot of issues with data centers and federal land being bought to build those data centers, and a lot of small communities being affected by the waste that those data centers create, along with all of the poor effects that AI has on us as people. And I'm wondering how you as candidates would represent the small communities and help support our small communities if something were to happen with the land being bought around us to create wasteful data centers.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I know that, we can look around at the many communities nationally that we see. There's that huge one going up in Utah that is going to consume as much power as the entire state of Utah. And so there's a lot of very sound and justified concerns over these data centers, and I think residents, small communities can get drowned out by corporations that have significantly deeper pockets, frankly. And as your representative, I support pragmatic and thoughtful policies around this. There should not be a mechanism for large corporations to come in, buy up land, and do that process without any recourse or say-so from the people that live here. But I also want to recognize this country has an aging infrastructure and an aging electrical grid. And so when we have corporations that are willing to invest billions in the things that draw the power, we should use this as an opportunity. We should use this to modernize our grid. That if they're going to come into a town like this, that if they're going to buy up land, there needs to be serious benefits for the people that live here. That includes modernizing our infrastructure, That includes making our energy and grid cleaner. So we should make sure it's done correctly and use it as an opportunity, making sure the voices of the people on the ground are centered. Thank you.
So all of us are vying for a federal position. And there's so many levels that this can be regulated or approved or denied. You have federal, you have state, you have county, you have city. I think the first line of defense for small towns is to engage with your city council. And at a minimum, there needs to be a obscenely high permit just to put things on pause, because what communities have been experiencing over the last several years is kind of a free-for-all. The federal government is going to be way too slow in doing what they need to do. I completely agree with Kevin's position that you want something from us. What are you going to do for me? But in order to maintain, and rural communities, they're like the new inner city. Your increased crime, suicide, high levels of unemployment, farms are dying, soil erosion, so many problems. The last thing you need is one of these companies picking over your goals. If I become your next congresswoman, I will encourage that to happen on a small level, because it's going to take us a while to get to that on a federal level.
Man, I'm sorry, I was wrong earlier. Like, this is probably the one that gets me most fired up. All right, so this bill, my daughter and I think we talk about this a lot. We have a real problem of learning lessons in this country. And we allowed the internet to just come and be developed, no regulation, just total unrestraint. And then we allow the social media to do the same thing, and just keep getting worse. We know that social media has caused all this harm. They know that it causes depression, addiction. And now we're just saying, hey, AI, you guys just go do your thing. We'll just sit here and reap the repercussions from this. That's ridiculous. We have to carry around these little data harvesters in our pockets. Our cars are data harvesters. Your refrigerator's a data harvester now. Your TV, all this going right into that AI. Suck information so they can manipulate you and keep us divided. So there's so much hate in this country, because we're being told that, we're being fed that continuously, because they know that'll keep us from getting things done. If we hate each other, we're not going to agree on better things for each other. We need to stop that. We need to stop funding it. It needs to be regulated. I'm scared. It's like we all need to have a collective watching the Terminator, because we know how this story goes. You got AI, and now we got these drones. You see what's going on over there in Ukraine? These things go buzz right through the window, open that thing, come in and blow things up. And we want AI. We want to trust Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and these people with it. Palantir is already musing about how war crimes would be good for their business. I don't trust these people. I don't trust none of these AI people. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little fired up here, but a lot of consequence on our country with this. And these people, representatives, don't seem to give a damn, because they get paid for it. They're going to make their individual stock purchases, benefit, getting the millions of dollars, and they cut out of here. They're going to go to their private islands with their buddies and bunker up while we're stuck. Sorry for going on. Fire up on that one.
You want to start here? You got it.
I guess it's me. So I think you've heard some pretty good ideas around data centers. It is really about making them pay their own way. And that is for the power they use, that's for the environmental harm they may do, whether it's disposing of electronic waste, the heating of the water, the land that they consume. Those are all things that need to be regulated, and we are way behind the power curve on that. It's one of the main failures of Congress is to be extremely reactive, if they act at all, instead of being proactive and looking ahead. And we can see that not only with the data centers, but with AI. We need regulations desperately around safety, the AI programs, the security, the privacy, the deep fakes. These programs need to be tested, probably certified for the government before they go online. There's a ton of work to do right here, and it's become really obvious in the last year or so. And Congress and the administration are still sitting on it, and in fact have stopped states from trying to regulate it, and that needs to be reversed. We do need it to be federal so that it is uniform instead of a patchwork, but until the federal gets their act together, let the states regulate it.
You've got a great question, so I'm going to start off with what you don't want to hear first. You're not stopping AI. That's coming. We better deal with it. And it's coming from all over the world. There's this thing called the internet, the interweb thingy, and it's not going away either. So we have to first deal with that reality. The second thing that we have to deal with is the most obvious regulations. Your electrical power grid, your environmental impacts, the amount of employers, et cetera, that happen. Economic opportunity may well be in AI in a lot of small communities. But similar to a Walmart, it can also be a black hole in which your economy gets sucked into. But I want to ask a question. How many of y'all have been to the Cannon Building or Rayburn Building in Washington, D.C. or gone through the halls of Congress? All right? You know what it looks like? A senior care facility. The folks that are in charge out there are out of touch. Nancy Pelosi never learned how to use a computer. She had an old touch-tone phone on her desk. That was the tool she used. Congress needs to create a committee, a subcommittee specifically for AI. And it needs to have people that are subject matter experts, which means they're going to have to start going to school and doing some reading and learn how this stuff works in order to make proper decisions.
Okay. There's a few things here. One, the environmental impacts. We actually, the Trump administration has basically authorized, in large part, some level of bypassing the environmental impacts. Okay, those are super important. We should be following the rules. I'm a big person about law, I'm a Jack, right? I'm a big person that supports law. Following the law, whatever that law is, even if it's inconvenient. They should be following the law. And I have significant doubts that that is exactly occurring right now. That said, that AI is coming, we need to address it. We also need to take care of people with regards to how we're treating it, how we're addressing it, what is going on with it. There needs to be rules with regards to how AI is being delivered to our families, to our friends, to our neighbors, to our nation. There are problems with regards to how AI is addressing and engaging with us. They are literally hurting our kids. There's enough research out right now to say, okay, we need to look at this a lot closer, and we need to engage a lot better. Normally, what would happen on new industries, you would have a governmental interaction with your industry experts. You would talk about possible paths forward. What I see from my perspective is AI basically just saying huge amounts of money to Congress. Congress then does whatever the contributors want them to do. I think that's absolutely wrong. You've got to have individuals that are standing up for your communities. You've got to have individuals that are standing up for your families. I mean, I've got 2 young kids. I have significant reservations about what is happening and what they're being exposed to. And I will pass on.
Thank you. We're getting close to 8:30, and I think that what we should do is probably start with our closing statements, and you will get 2 minutes apiece. So a full 30 seconds more.
Watch out. Yeah, you gotta find that 2 minutes here first.
And so we started at the very beginning of the night with you, right, David?
Yes.
Why don't we start here on this end, and we'll go this way for closing statements, 2 minutes each. You tell us anything.
I will tell you anything I want. Thank you for having me. This is really awesome, to be a part of this. I'm a different kind of dude. I hope I'm for you. I like me. I hope you do too. If I'm not, that's okay. But I'm gonna tell you this much. All these people here are fantastic. So if you don't vote for me, I really hope you vote for one of them. Like I say, I'm competitive. And I think I'm the best. But the fact is, there's a lot of good people out here standing up, taking time to do it. You know, respect to all of you for coming out here. Brought a lot of other things you do tonight, but you came here to participate and being part of the democracy. You actually find out about people one-on-one, or I guess 6 on 25, 30, whatever it is, but actually getting out there and talking and participating. So respect to you. I appreciate it. We got a lot of problems to fix. It's going to be a while to get better, but you know, little steps at a time, we can get there. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to take care of the people. We need to have love for each other. We don't need to know each other. We just need to know that we're people, that we're humans, that we're generally good people, and that we want the best for each other. To start acting that way. We don't have to have this divisiveness, this hate. Your wins aren't my losses, and vice versa. I'm happy for all of your wins. I want you to be happy for my wins. And we can start looking at it like that. We're not taking from one another from what the other one receives. You can't always have that thing. But be happy when we do. I would love for your college to be paid for going forward. The tax money, if it's not going to corporations anymore. I'm done with school. It doesn't benefit me. But I'd be happy for you to have that. I want people to have food. I want people to have great jobs. I want people to have dental care. I want people to not have to pay money to be tracked by these little data harvesters that use to manipulate you. You shouldn't have to opt out of that. Somebody should be opting in and saying, hey, yeah, you can track me and take my data, but you're going to pay for my data plan while you're at it. Thank you all.
Sorry. Everybody's joking.
Should I dance? Again, I'm Anne Marie Danimus and independent, and you know, we don't have a lot of differing generalized opinions from this stage, but there's the who's gonna represent you, deliver this message. There's the what you want to see done. There's the why. And most of us we need to be able to survive and grow. It's the how. It's the how that there's never enough time in 90 seconds to talk about. It's the how that gets muddled between the promise, who asked about promises, between the promise and the policy. It's the how. I'm an expert in the how, in systems, in policy, in building. Dave talked about we need to get to 2028. We're going to lose 30% of our farmers this year. I can't promise that I can save them, but I can promise you this: food is going to be a problem. Energy is going to be a problem. Power. We're going to have real survival issues. And I will be ready on the ground, not just to cheer that we're a little more blue. Because like I said, it's not right versus left. It's top versus bottom. And right now, we're looking at bottoming out. Whether it's a war or corporations, they're all convexing, and real American families are about to suffer. Trump got rid of FEMA. There's emergencies on the horizon, and we need to be prepared for that and ready to work and take care of our neighbors, our families, our friends, and our brethren. Thank you.
Testing.
Still works.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. My name is Kevin Fagan, and I'm a Democrat running for Congress. And to me, being a Democrat means wanting an effective federal government that actually works for the people. And so you can draw a line from where you see your tax dollars go to how you see it invested back in your community. And for too long, that line has really gotten muddy. We have not been able to see that connection because we see billionaires, we see corporations continuing to gain more power while we're paying the same amount in taxes. And so we need an effective federal government that is actually beholden to the people and listens to what we want. Like Beijing said, our Congress, the people who are currently in power, they're on the older end. And we've had what, 3 people die in their seat of Congress this year? We need people in Congress with a vested interest in the future of this country. That means people who are willing to fight for what the next generation has below us as well. That means people who understand what it's like to be working class right now. Seeing that the average first-time home ownership is at 40 years old now, recognizing those challenges and being able to fight at the federal level for them. Because it is important. We need to put people before corporations and billionaires. And so I'm running a grassroots campaign. I'm sure a lot of us could probably relate to that. The grassroots campaign that is in touch with the people and what we want to see and fight for in Congress. Thank you.
I'm Richard Freudenberg. I want to thank you for your time for coming out. I know this is not the most convenient, but it's important, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you for that. Also, the views that I've expressed, they're my own. They're not the Department of Defense, just know that on the front end. That said, we really need to work on a lot of different things. And where we're at right now is not working, and I agree. We need to have an eye to the future. This next election is going to be extraordinarily important. We can't have and keep re-electing career politicians, individuals that really don't spend time here, that really don't know about your families, my family, our neighbors, this nation. They spend more time. I mean, if you actually, Representative Baumgartner talked about this to the scouting organizations, which I'm a member of, and been there for over 10 years, about how much time he spends away doing campaign fundraising. There is something seriously wrong if you have to spend time away from home, the people that you represent, to raise money for them to vote for you again. That doesn't make much sense to me. It should be me and you talking. It should be us having a conversation. I'm confident that if we can have a conversation, we may not agree on everything, but we're going to find some common ground, and that's going to be the path forward. It's not going to be fighting about little things that people aren't as concerned about. It's going to be us coming together and saying, this is our path forward, this is our solution, this is where we need to be as an organization, as a community. I'm convinced that we can do that as a community. And that's why I'm running. Because I'm confident that our people, when we have an opportunity to engage with them, they'll see what we have to offer. I agree. I think anyone up here is probably a better candidate than Representative Baumgartner. They actually truly care. They're fighting. We are fighting for you. Please continue to come to these outings. Please continue to work with us and see us and hear what we have to say. There's so much more to say. So please keep coming out. Thank you.
How fast can I talk? H.L. Mencken once said, for every problem, there is a solution. Clean, concise, simple, and wrong. Being in Congress is a complicated job that you have to have a massive amount of general knowledge and then a certain amount of expertise in fields that matter. I have emphasized the importance of defeating Michael Baumgartner. I have a personal interest in that. I apologize for walking out on you all. That was a call from my son, letting me know that he has to testify tomorrow. He is the only one that is taking the stand. So you'll have an opportunity to hear what he himself has to say. But I want to emphasize, this is where we are in the timeline. It is not academic. It is not Minneapolis. It is not Portland. It is not San Francisco or Los Angeles or Washington, D.C. It is right here in Eastern Washington. It is affecting all of us. We have to use the mechanisms that were given to us But we also have to recognize that our Constitution has failed. We need to amend the Constitution, because what our country has depended upon is the better angels of the nature of the men and women leading this country. And as we have found, when you get that trifecta of a Supreme Court, of an abdicated Congress who has left their responsibilities, and of a completely graft-centered presidency, the Constitution doesn't have guardrails to stop against that. We need to be working on that now. And I hope that afterwards you'll come and talk to all of us about these things in more detail. Everybody here is a subject matter expert on a lot of things.
Thank you for coming out tonight and doing your homework, because that's what you're doing. You're trying to decide who you're going to vote for in the primary. And the decision you need to make is maybe not who's your favorite candidate up here. They're all strong. We all emphasize slightly different little points. But who do you think is going to be able to actually win against Michael Baumgartner? What issues do you think are going to resonate most come fall? I'll tell you, I think healthcare is still going to be there. Who knows what this administration is going to come up with between now and then, but healthcare is still going to be one of the big ones. The economy is still going to be big. So is support for agriculture and protecting our rights. This is what people have told me in the dozens and dozens of listening sessions I've conducted throughout this region since December. It's what they've told me on the phone. It's how we have engaged in my campaign to have 526 trained volunteers as of Tuesday. I don't know what the count is today, but those are spread all out. About half of them are in Spokane, about 80 north of Spokane, and the rest are south of Spokane across the district. You talk about a people-powered campaign, we have it. We're relating to people one-on-one. So that's your decision to make, and I'm sure every candidate up here will respect the voice of the people in the primary and line up behind whoever it is that's going to be up against Michael Baumgartner. Because, as everybody has said, he has got to go. Thank you, and have a great evening. And like Bajan said, please come around to the tables and talk more. Thank you.
Remind the audience that primary is August 4th, where you will be voting for these people. The winner of that primary will be going to the general election and face Michael Baumgartner on November 3rd.
Not necessarily, if you get two of us in there.
That's true.
There's an optimist.
That's a really good idea. The other thing is that David was talking about the Constitution, which is not being followed right now. This is our map and our format of how our government should work. And there's a whole bunch of them back there on the table, and feel free to grab one if we run out. I have more right over here. And does anybody want to say where their website is? Direct anyone to their website?
David Womack for Congress.com. Make sure you put David Womack, not just Womack for Congress, or you'll get a Republican from Arkansas. Long lost cousin, I'm sure.
Very lost.
VoteBajan.com, and you won't get me confused with anybody else.
VoteFreudenberg.com. It is there will be no confusion.
Kevin Fagan for Congress.com. You can also grab one of our rack cards in the back that has our information.
vote for the number 4 AnneMarie.com, and I have tons of paraphernalia you can take with you.
Totally uncreative. Andrew Bartleson for Congress.com. Yeah. Nice and easy. Thank you, everyone.
And we'll take, the facility here is going to be open for probably another half an hour. You guys, thank you so much for coming. I know we're a small town, we're inconsequential, but we're very important. We really appreciate you. But you can take a half an hour, go out and talk to people. If you need to take on, like David, you probably can, whatever you need.